I've mentioned my elementary school computer lab a couple of times, and that there was a vast array of Dell Optiplex GX100s sitting in the lab. Well, there was one of these. This is a Dell Optiplex GX1. This is not the one from the lab. But it was sitting in the corner, running Windows 95, where everything else was running Windows 98. I believe it actually came out of the library and was the card catalog machine, but I do not know. Never did figure that out. Really didn't care. So this machine was in RossACB's possession. He'd found it in the basement of his building, his apartment building, and rescued it. And I'm guessing it was some kind of spring cleaning. He was getting rid of a whole bunch of junk and took this back down to that basement, to get rid of it. And he talked about it. I said, no, I'll take that. So he went back. I had to go back down and grab it. So this thing has been rescued from the brink twice, apparently. And it is still here to tell the tale. Some of you may have seen my Optiplex GX110 video. The GX100s that were in that computer lab were basically the same as that. Smaller design, only had one 5¼ inch bay. This one's got two. It's also got this slanted front panel and this really interesting curvature deal going on. I wonder how many of my audience members will know what that is. No cheating. But we got a Pentium 2 sticker, designed for Microsoft Windows NT or Windows 98, which is interesting because the one that we had was running Windows 95. Other than that, pretty much the same design. I like this case design. I really don't know what it is about this, but I never really cared for flashy, curvy designs, but this one always just struck me as being interesting. This particular the beige Dell design really just struck me as being interesting. Go ahead and we look over here. We've got this curious little thing here. I'm not actually sure what that is, if that's covering something up. I haven't tried to remove it. I don't want to break it or anything like that. I'm sure it's covering something up. Go ahead and we'll flip it around. You can tell where the CRT was positioned on top of it. We go and look here. You get it says serial number, but it's actually the service tag. Manufactured, looks like February 4th, 1999, or April 2nd, 1999. One of the two. Kind of interesting. This is almost an April Fool's computer, if the latter is the case. Oh, man, wow. Alright. And of course, all the certifications and whatnot. Dell Computer Corporation and all of that. There's a chassis fan here. Power supply fan there. Covered underneath this grill. There's a case lock there, as well as a Kensington lock on the back, presumably for the monitor. You get 5 expansion card slots. One of them is taken up by a modem. If I remember right, you get 2 ISA and 3 PCI, or maybe it was 2 ISA and 4 PCI, although one of them was a combination slot. We'll figure that out when we pop the cover. 2 serial ports, USB, PS2, parallel, VGA, little diagnostic indications down there. Ethernet, which is a 3COM 3C905 deal, and sound. Alright, let's go ahead and pop the cover. Okay, go ahead and pop the cover now. There's 2 little latches on the slide and it lifts up and off. We've now revealed the magic within, or at least some of it. Can reveal a little bit more. Turns out I was wrong completely on the slot arrangement. You get 3 PCI and 3 ISA, although, like I said, one of them's a combination. You can choose between ISA or PCI. So there you go, on that front. Looks like down there is a space for cache. I think it's actually got onboard cache. But you could expand that with what looks like it's almost a SODIMM for a laptop. Maybe that's exactly what it is. I haven't actually tried that. It's been so long since I've really investigated all that stuff, I really don't know. Here's a CPU. It's one of these slot designs. Can we actually see what it is? I don't know. It doesn't actually really say on it what it is. Although I guess you could probably look up that S-spec there, SL2U3, and you can tell me before I know what it happens to be. Here's our chassis fan there. Power supply is here. Go ahead and we'll release this. Try and do it with one hand. You can see it. It is a 200 watt power supply. Probably could handle quite a bit more than 200 watts though. I wouldn't want to leave it that way, but it could probably handle it. I believe this is actually at least a somewhat proprietary power supply. You can see this little 6-pin connector going here. I don't know if that's the standard auxiliary power connection or not. Somehow I don't think so. The P2 power connector. Somehow, like I said, I don't really think so. This right here, this little blue thing, is something that's long since forgotten. That is actually the analog audio cable coming off of the optical drive for audio. Because back in the day, routing audio on the IDE bus really kind of sucked. It wasn't very good. There wasn't enough bandwidth available for that to really be a thing. Curiously, there's a massive heatsink down there on the board, and I'm not really sure what that is. The black one, I'm not really sure what that's covering up. Possibly the video? This has an ATI Rage 3D video chipset. Actually, probably not. I see a Rage 3D chip down there. You could just barely make it out. Or at least ATI 3D. Come on. 3 RAM slots, PC133, standard DIMMs. I believe this system's got 384 megabytes installed, if I remember, trusting my memory, but could be wrong on that one. I know it's got two 128 megabyte modules, so it's at least got 256. Well, it's got more than 256, but it's just the thing that happens when we get this late. The language just goes straight down the toilet. That down there is the integrated LAN. That parallel tasking 2. That's a 3COM 3C905. I think it's a 3C905B equivalent. That's kind of interesting. I'm not sure. It's not really labeled. But I almost wonder if this thing has 3 parallel ATA channels on it. Maybe not. Looks like there are a couple pins missing. That might be for something else. Somebody's probably telling me exactly what it's for. I've never actually had one of these open, you know. When we had that one in the computer lab, never saw that open. Because, of course, I was in 6th grade at the time. And we only had those machines in there for about a year and a half. And they suddenly just disappeared. Replaced them all with Windows XP machines. Significantly less interesting. But anyway. Down there's something labeled Tappy, probably for a speaker for the onboard. Or I guess maybe not. It doesn't have an onboard modem. Alright. It's labeled Tappy, though. So it may be another tap-in for a sound card. For the audio, although I don't think so. Because there's CD in 1 there, and I think the other one is CD in 2. There's a lot of things I really don't know. I'm learning this pretty much as I'm going along here. So somebody will probably be along shortly to tell me I'm a moron, and maybe I am, but like I said, I've never had one of these open, and I haven't done my research before doing this. It's a big riser card, so in order to change these cards, you'd pull this whole thing out. Never really was a fan of that design. It basically made it just so that there was a single point of failure for pretty much everything when it comes down to expansion cards, and that was fatal in some machines. But anyway, this optical drive is not original. I did replace that. I have the original drive. I was told that the tray didn't work with the original drive, but I actually tested it, and the tray is fine. There's nothing wrong with the tray, but it will not achieve focus lock. And I watched the drive in operation with the cover removed, which, by the way, is very dangerous. Don't do that. But I watched it, and I don't even think the laser is receiving power at all, because either it's completely in the infrared, or it's not receiving power, because you should see at least a little bit of red. Obviously, you wouldn't be looking straight at it, but you should be able to see some of the red. And I didn't see anything. And with it ejected, it was still behaving kind of strange. The assembly was moving back and forth, the focus was changing, and it was just behaving strangely. We have an NEC floppy drive, which is kind of interesting to see. But it is the original Dell drive. The optical drive that's in here is actually one out of an Apple Macintosh, 2001, so it's a little bit newer than the machine itself. This is a Western Digital hard drive, I can tell you that right away. I don't know the size, because I can't read the label, and I've slept since powering this machine up. The other one there is a Quantum of some description. Yes, Quantum Failball Plus, although I can't read. Ooh, there it is. Oh wait, that's a 60 gig drive? Wow. Oh, okay. Probably not going to keep that in here. Probably use that for something else. As soon as it's not a screamer. Alright, so we'll put that back in place. I'm going to put the cover back on this, and we'll go ahead and power it up. Well, but before I do that, number one, you can see the quick release system here. These just simply ride on trays. I believe it's screwed in place. The drive is screwed to the tray, but the tray is quick release. Here's the front panel here. This is where a business audio speaker would go, or maybe right there. One of these two is for a business audio speaker. The one that was in the elementary school computer lab had the business audio speaker. So, kind of unfortunate this one doesn't, but oh well. In fact, that one of those connectors there might have been for the business audio speaker. Either that one all the way back there, which you can barely make out, or this one here that's labeled TAPI, T-A-P-I. But if you want to get this front cover back on, or the top cover, it's got these hooks on it, and these hooks go into these slots here. It's not exactly easy to get the cover back on this thing. Once you get it in those slots, it simply folds down, just as it came off. Well, apparently my camcorder battery is not lasting like it used to. That's kind of unfortunate. I hope that's not going to be a problem. That said, I'm also trying out this new recording setup, so that way I can have the tripod, but that the tripod's not in my way. I don't know how this is really going to work. This is the first time I'm really trying this, so let me know if you happen to like this angle, or if I should just go back to the old way of doing things. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll get the power cord, and we'll plug it in right now, because I don't know if it's actually going to stay on when I do this. Looks like it did not. So we'll hit power. Yep, that is definitely a Western Digital hard drive. Alert! Cover was previously removed. I wonder if it's going to post. Here we go. Invalid configuration information. Time of day not set. So the CMOS battery is dead. Press F2 to go into setup. Ooh, we got the older style setup utility. If I remember right, the GX1 10 has the newer gray style. Well, it's BIOS revision A03, so it's possible that this BIOS is a couple revisions out of date, and I should probably update it. And maybe that will give me the gray and blue and the newer style, as opposed to this. Well, this isn't too bad. I note with great interest that we've only got one drive here. So I wonder if both drives are actually working properly. Well, I'll set the time to something reasonably sane. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to set it to 4. Let's see here. How do we change its value? Shift. Oh, that's for changing fields. Left and right. Okay. Should probably know this off the top of my head, but well, it's about 4 in the morning, so I think I'm allowed to forget things. Alright, 2019, it is Wednesday. Let's set these to auto. So we'll type A to set them all to auto. Oops, A. Automatic and automatic. Reserve memory none. 350 megahertz CPU speed. Num lock is on. Chassis intrusion detected. Alright. So we'll turn that off. DAC snoop. That's VGA palette snooping. ACPI is off. Well, hopefully that won't be a problem. Change the page. Keyboard errors. System password. Boot sequence diskette first. That's probably a good thing. Power management looks okay. Everything there looks pretty sane. There are only 2 pages of setup, so that is it. And let's see. Push escape. And we get to a boot menu. Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Windows XP Professional. Let's go for XP first. See if it boots. Figure out which drive this is installed on. Oh, here we go. If I had to make my guess, that is probably installed on the Quantum drive. So it doesn't sound like a Western Digital headseat to me. Doesn't sound like Western Digital. But I could be wrong. I probably am. So it sounds like that Quantum is not a screamer. It might even be a fluid bearing. Which is interesting. I didn't think Quantum survived into the fluid bearing era. Antivirus software may not be installed. Oh no. Whatever are we going to do about that? Microsoft PS2 mouse. Although this is a compact mouse. It wants me to reboot because I installed a mouse. This is a Windows 95 machine, primarily it looks like. Quantum Fireball P AS. Fireball? I have no idea what that is. AS60. And a 6.4 gig Western Digital. Alright. ATI 3D Rage Pro. Network, yep, 3C918, which is a 3C905B TX compatible. Was I right or what? And it looks like Crystal WD audio. So yeah, that's what that Crystal chip was for. We have USB, probably USB 1.1, A2371ABEB. Right, so if somebody wants to look that up, they can certainly do so and tell me, or I'll spoil all your fun and go look that up myself. I'll post it in the video description or as a video title before you get a chance to. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Try and get a little bit closer to the action here. Secondary hard disk drive 1 not found. Whatever. Microsoft Windows, starting Windows 95. Microsoft Idiot Exploiter. Unknown device. Looks like our video driver's not installed. Windows has updated the clock as a result of daylight savings time. That's not correct, so go away. And display, standard PCI graphics. That's not what that is. Sound is not really installed properly either. Creative Lab Sound Blaster Pro. Dial-up adapter. And there's a bunch of unknown junk. Yeah. It knows what it is. CS4236B for the audio, but not installed. And of course, PCI Ethernet is also not installed. Let's see what the drive setup is on this. Oh, it's exactly the same. Very interesting. So I was not wrong, it doesn't. It looks like I was not wrong. Interesting. So, well, there you go. The more you know. Alright. There's not really much else I could think of to share with you. I think that's pretty much going to do it for the video. My plan for this is to make it strictly a Windows 95 machine. I have not decided whether or not I'm going to run Windows 95, the original Windows 95 from floppy diskette, without Internet Explorer and all that mess, or if I'm going to just put 95 OSR2 on here. I may go the OSR2 route because it's got USB ports on it, and I don't really want to waste those USB ports, but I've been blathering on long enough. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off, and I hope to see you next time. Till then. I thought ACPI was turned off. Interesting. I would have thought that it would have asked me if, told me it is now safe to turn off your computer. Let's be curious about something. Let's check this out. A little bit of a postscript. See if it also immediately shuts the machine down. Or if because ACPI is turned off, if it tells me that it's now safe to turn off my computer. Hard drives is shut off. Aha! It is now safe to turn off your computer. So there you go. I guess it's running in the old APM mode and Windows XP does not like that. Alright, so that is going to do it for the video.